What's up? What's up, y'all? Welcome to the show. Welcome to the show. I'm probably gonna need a mic, right? What it do? Happy Tuesday. Happy Trap Tuesday. I hope everybody's morning is getting off. Day is getting off to a good start. I'm gonna be brief today. I got a lot of stuff to do, but I wanted to talk about a couple of 10 different historic dates in Bitcoin. And why do I want to talk about those? Because first and foremost, if you know, the more you know, the more confidence you have in making an investment, and the more easier you can go throughout your day with the dips and the different changes in the marketplace. Let me make sure that I have sound. Yep, got sound. But yeah, so the more you know, the more confidence you have in investing, and the more you can stick and stay when it gets hard, when it gets rough, when the numbers drop. Today, I normally don't look at the market. I don't look at it often, but we down to 113,000 today. Now that's from 125,000. So I don't even know what's that. Over $10,000 drop in a couple days. But we don't worry about that in Bitcoin, and these historic dates are some of the reasons why we don't, because we have intel, we have the intelligence, we know why we're doing this. We know that we put money in Bitcoin for a store of value, because if we store our money in the bank, we lose money. I tried to explain to my cousin how $10,000 is not the same $10,000 that it was, because it can buy less. You need more of money now to buy the same thing. So I did a comparison. I said, so that same house that gained value sitting on your corner, did the house change? Did the corner change? No, the money got weaker. So we buy Bitcoin because we want to store our. Pay attention to what Bitcoin was. When I get to these historic dates, you'll understand. But back 10 years ago, 16 years ago, Bitcoin started going up. Compared to everything else, Bitcoin gained value. And it gained because it stores value. It stores you take your fiat money, you convert it to Bitcoin, and you let that money sit there, and you let Bitcoin go up. So now when the inflation goes up, Bitcoin has outpaced it. So now you don't have to worry about the inflation part of it. But we're going to talk about a few different dates. We're going to talk about 10 different historic dates. And the first date that everybody should always, once you start investing in Bitcoin, the first date that you need to remember, one of the most important dates, and that is October 31st, 2008. Why is October 31st, 2008 significant? Well, that's when this was published. The white paper, the Bitcoin white paper was published, and I know you can't read that. Don't even try to. If I blow this up, maybe you can read it. Let's see. Y'all let me know in the comments if you can see that. Because probably not. But Satoshi Nakamoto published the white paper. The white paper tells you everything about the asset and what the creator plans to do, how he plans to do it, how long this whole process will take, what they expect. It tells you everything. So anytime you invest in anything, if you want to invest in XRP, look up the white paper. All of these investments have a white paper, which is it's just the initial, it's the constitution of the product. So hang on, let me make sure. I want to see if you can see that. Like I say in the comments, let me know if you can. If not, I didn't think you would be able to. So I didn't think you would be able to. but if you can, great. But if not, I'll tell you all about it. But anyway, so this white paper, the reason it's significant is because it tells you everything about it, and that was one of the most important things that I didn't even know about. So I just thought Bitcoin was just a word, a term that people were using, and it was a crypto. But there was a whole white paper that told you how long it would take. It told you that there were only so many that would be brought into existence. It told you everything. And because we didn't know, all we looked at it as it's a scam, it's this. No, it was already written. You got to think about this. When they build a house, the house is already built. It's on paper. It's already built. Everything that's going to go into the house, they already know how many boxes of screws. They know how much wood. They know how much land they're going to use. It's really already built. Bitcoin was already built for success when the white paper came out. But but that was October 31st. That's when it was invented. Halloween 2008. And then let's go to the next significant date, which was January 3rd, 2009. And what was that? So in January 2009, that was when the Genesis block was mined, which was the first Bitcoin block that went on the blockchain. And that right there, that was right during when the banks got the bailout. That was the same time the banks were getting their bailouts. No, it was the second bailout that they were doing. And that's why Satoshi Nakamoto invented this. He said, if y'all gonna pump all this money in there, we got to create some money that will hold value. And that's where Bitcoin came from. And it has been holding value. So look at this. In 2008, if you were to put $1 into Bitcoin, it would be worth billions. Now let's see if you put $1 in the stock market, what would it have done? It would have went up. It would have did something. You might have had, I'm not even sure. I don't even know the math. But $1 in Bitcoin would have got you over $1 billion. So not only did it hold value, it exceeded the value of the dollar. Okay, and then let's go to the next date. What would the next date be? That would be January 9th, a few days later. That's when the first Bitcoin transaction, and that's when Satoshi sent 10 Bitcoin to Hale Finney, cryptographer and early supporter of Bitcoin. That was the first time Bitcoin was transferred to somebody. So in the beginning, Satoshi created it. He had all the Bitcoin. 21 million Bitcoin would be available at some point. And he sent his first transaction to Hale Finney. So, and that was January 12th. No, why do I have? Oh, yeah, it's the 12th. Sorry about that. Okay, it was still a few days later, but it was the 12th. My bad, y'all, my bad. And then let's go to the next date. That was October 2009. They don't have an exact day, but that's when the first Bitcoin exchange rate came out. So one Bitcoin was worth 0.00076 based on the cost of the electricity to mine it. So pay attention to that. So one Bitcoin was less than a penny would be 0.1, right? Bitcoin was 0.00076. It wasn't even worth a penny in October 2009. It wasn't even worth a penny. It was worth a fraction of a penny. So if you would have spent, 10 pennies would have gotten you $1 million today if you'd have held on to it. 10 pennies. Just to give you the magnitude of what you're dealing with. 10 pennies in October of 2009 would have got you, if you held on to that, so put 10 pennies into Bitcoin, which you probably couldn't. You probably at least had to do $1. But my point is, that's where this started. That's why these dates are significant. So let's go to the next date, which is what was it? May 22nd, 2010. This is the day of the Bitcoin pizza. So what's the Bitcoin pizza? Let me see. I want to make sure I'm not missing no comments. Okay. Somebody said, Via Stale said she couldn't see it. Okay, most definitely. Well, I figured that. But look it up. That white paper is online. It's a PDF. Just go pull it up and just look at how we just missed. We just didn't know. And that's why your network means so much. Your network means so much. Because if I wasn't doing this every day, at some point, some people they still wouldn't get this for another 5, 10 years possibly. Or they never get it. So that's why you're networking. That's why it's paramount that you have a network of friends and family that support you. Shout out to the people that's tapping in and commenting and engaging with me. I appreciate that so much. This is where it all starts at the beginning, which is the genesis, and there's no value. Nobody can see the value. They don't even see you. And eventually you keep taking those steps and you end up at $100,000 per Bitcoin. But yeah, so May 22nd, 2010, that was the Bitcoin pizza. That's the day that Laszlo Hanyecz, I can't pronounce his name, but he paid $10,000 of Bitcoin for 2 pizzas, marking the first commercial transaction. So May 22nd, the first of 2010, the first commercial transaction was where a man bought 2 pizzas for 10,000 Bitcoin. So he went on the network and he asked I got 10,000 Bitcoin for whoever uses their credit card and orders me 2 Papa John pizzas, because they were Papa John pizzas. And I don't remember the guy who took him up on that, but he sent him 10,000 Bitcoin and he used his credit card and paid $20 for 2 pizzas. And they sent them to, and he picked them up from Papa John's in his area, because I think they were in totally different 2 states. But that was known as the first commercial transaction. Because if you got to think, before that, it was no. Now Satoshi has sent 10 Bitcoin to somebody, but other than that, there was no commercial transactions that had happened up to that point. So, yeah. So what was 10,000? So 10,000 Bitcoin today, 15 years later, 10,000 Bitcoin would have been well over $1 billion. So these pizzas cost that man $1 billion, 2 pizzas. So let's go to the next date. What's our next date? What was our next date? So our next date would be May. What's that? July 2010. That's when Mt. Gox exchanges. So before then, you had to buy Bitcoin from someone that you knew because there was no exchange. So you see how you can go on Robinhood, Coinbase, Cash App. You couldn't do that before. Before 2010, you couldn't do that. So from Halloween 2008 to 2010, there were no exchanges. So you couldn't go on an exchange and buy it as simple as we do now. So shout out to Mt. Gox. They were the first company. That's MTGOX. So they later became the world's largest Bitcoin exchange. So shout out to them, because you couldn't buy it before that. You had to know somebody who knew somebody. So let's go to the next date. Let's go. See, I got this date wrong again. But this is February 2011 is the actual date. Bitcoin reaches $1. So in February 2011, think about what you were doing then. What was I doing in 2011? I can't even think of what I was doing. But in 2011, oh man, okay. Well, yeah. So Bitcoin reached $1, and that was a symbolic milestone. And that's when it got media attention. They said, "Wow, okay." So it reached $1. Now I'm gonna tell you something. So Bitcoin is, let's just say, because I don't really do that good with these analogies, but let's just say that you have Bitcoin is the large, one Bitcoin would be considered 100,000 Satoshis, right? Now, Bitcoin reached $1 in 2011. Now, when a Satoshi reaches $1, because right now, if you look up what's the equivalent of a Satoshi. No, what's the value of a Satoshi in $1? I guess it would be how would you put it? Oh, yeah. So the exchange rate of $1 and a Satoshi, what would that be? It's not even I don't think it's even a penny yet, but that's where it's going. So you got to understand when a Satoshi becomes the equivalent of $1, I think the whole economy would have been to fail by then. So I don't even want to get into that. But just understand, Satoshis haven't even reached $1 yet. But when they do, now one Bitcoin is worth, think about that. If one Bitcoin is 100 million Satoshis, if a Satoshi reaches $1, how much is a Bitcoin? A Bitcoin is $100 million by that point. $100 million of Bitcoin. This is where this is going. So when people ask me, am I late? When people scroll past these little $100,000 posts about Bitcoin, you haven't even, we steal 1%. You steal the same stories that you're hearing about from the people that were in this in 2011 are going to be the stories that they talk about us, about people that's starting today. We will be the ones that they talk about 10 years from now. Just like we talk about them, those super quadrubillionaires or whatever, that in Bitcoin, they'll be talking about us. But it's actually February 2011. Bitcoin reached $1. So in February 2011, Bitcoin reached $1. Let's go to our next one. Our next date is Halloween. Nope, not Halloween. It's 12/13. I don't know how I got my dates off. Yep, I see. Hold on. Yeah, so 2013. So that's December 2013. But we missed the date. Yeah, we missed a couple of dates. Okay, yeah. So they had it backwards. They put it in here backwards. It's not my fault. So yeah, so July 2011, Mount Gox price crashes from $32 to $2. So I know that was terrible. I know that was terrible. That had to be. But yeah, so then we go to our next date, which is December of 2013. China bans banks from using Bitcoin. The price swings violently, but Bitcoin survives. So in December 2013, China banned banks from using Bitcoin. And the price swung violently, but Bitcoin survived. Look, we've been through, if you've been in the part of this Bitcoin community, it's always, so we just watched the president talk about Bitcoin. We had never had that. If they talked about it, they talked about it. They talked about it in a way as if it was like an underground world. now that crypto is on the been legislated, and it, ETFs can be backed by your bank, it's a little bit different the way they talk about it. So, but it's still in the beginning stages, and most people, I have family members that don't believe in it, and they won't accept it. And I remember when I didn't believe in it, I didn't accept it. So I'm cool, I get it. Let's go to the next date. July 9th, 2016. That was the second halving. So you remember, we had the first halving 4 years after 2008, which was 2012. And then you had the second halving. Remember what the halving is. We talked about what the halving is. Can anybody let me know? Nope, we ain't gonna even try to do that right now. But if you know what a halving is, put it in the comments. Just the simplest terms of what a halving is. Just put it in the comments. Halving is very important in the Bitcoin. In the terms, it's very important. You need to know what the halving is. You need to know. So tell me this, when is the next halving? Somebody tell me that. When is the next halving? But the second halving was July 9th, 2016. That's when I guess I'm gonna tell it now. That's when the block reward was reduced from 25 Bitcoin to 12 Bitcoin. And whenever we have a halving, that's when the price goes up. They say within 6 months after the halving, the price goes up because the industry realizes that the rate that Bitcoin comes into existence the reward for Bitcoin coming into existence cuts in half. So in July 9th, 2016, the second halving, that's when the reward was reduced from $25 from 25 Bitcoin to 12.5 Bitcoin. So let's go to the next date. Last but not least, I'm only gonna do 10 today. But the day after my birthday, 2017, the first major bull run, Bitcoin hits $19,000 before a major crash happened. So what were you doing in 2017? I know 2016. Oh, yep, I remember, because 2016 is when housing prices were at $1 in Detroit. I remember we had all those houses that went into tax foreclosure. Me and my family, but actually my family spent like $30,000 on like 15 houses that year. And I bought one for $20,000 that year in 2016. So that tells you I could have bought a Bitcoin then instead of the house. I ended up selling the house though, but I didn't make a lot of money on it. I sold too early. Now it's worth, the house is worth 5 times what I paid, what I sold it for right now. I was in my marriage. I was going through some stuff, and I was made some bad decisions. I made some real bad decisions at that time. But yeah, so December 17, 2017, that was the first major bull run. Bitcoin hit $19,000. And then it crashed after that. But, okay, so let me see. Did we talk about the halving? Did anybody pop? Nope, nobody can tell me about the halving. So the next halving is there every 4 years. We just had one April 2024. So the next halving will be in 2028. So we had time to load up, because the next halving it's gonna be different, man. It's gonna really grow within the next halving. Shout out to everybody that stayed in, that came in on the live and stayed here. I said I'm only gonna be here 30 minutes, so we're gonna be wrapping up shortly. But I just want to tell you that I'm about to buy some Bitcoin. I'm about $25 worth of Bitcoin. If you are new to the page, if you're new to the show, what we do is we buy Bitcoin all this month of August, and we dollar cost average. We don't care what the price is. So today I'm getting Bitcoin at a very great price. That's why you dollar cost average into it. Because now if I would have bought it when it was 25, if I would have put $1,000 in when it was 125,000, okay, I got $1,000 worth of Bitcoin. But if I put $100 in every day, I would have caught this 113,000 price. Because 10 days ago, it was 125,000. You see what I'm saying? So that's why you dollar cost average. That's why it's important to dollar cost average. Because you catch the ups, the downs, the highs, the lows. You don't care because you're buying it anyway. So it's a matter of you just dollar cost average. You don't pay attention to what the price is. So at this point, I'm gonna buy some Bitcoin. I'm buying $25 worth. And shout out to y'all. It's so much going on behind the scenes. There's another thing that I want to tell you in this Bitcoin thing. Let me lift my chair up. So if you are investing in other coins other than Bitcoin, remember that, especially, I told you, we call them SHIT coins because they can be manipulated. The price drops. The white paper doesn't say anything about scarcity. It's just all, I'm not going to say it's a gamble, but just know that if you're investing in anything other than Bitcoin, just know that it is what it is. You know what I'm saying? It's just, you know, that is really dependent on legislation and all this other different stuff for it to grow. And somebody's got to adopt it and all this kind of stuff. Bitcoin's not dependent on that so much. It helps, but it's not dependent on that. It's going to go up anyway because it's scarce. It's only so many. But if you are investing in XRP, Cardano, Dogecoin, any of those coins, remember to take profits. So we just had a spike. So I think XRP was up at $3 and something. What I did was I took profits. I kept my principal in. And then whatever it grew over my principal, I pulled that out. What's my principal? My principal is what I put in the beginning. So if I put $100 in, but it makes 250. I mean, but next thing you know, I look in it as 250. That means I earned $150. I pulled 150 off, leave the principal in, go invest the 150 into Bitcoin. So now I'm using the house's money to buy the real asset, which is Bitcoin. So remember that. Remember that. If you now, I wouldn't pull my, and I wouldn't say not to do it for Bitcoin, because like right now, so let's just say when Bitcoin was up to 125,000, if I would have took my profits off the top, left what I've invested, and bought while it went down lower, you can do that. That's day trading to me. I try not to get into that too much, but you can do that. But when it comes to these other coins, I day trade with them because I know that's what they're for. So remember that. Remember that. Remember to take profits and reinvest your money into the mega asset. The mega asset. Bitcoin. So shout out to y'all. Shout out to the disruptors. I appreciate the support. I appreciate the growth, the good energy. We growing and we expanding our territory. We getting better. We training. We are taking advantage of the biggest wealth transfer of our generation. That's what you're a part of right now. I always leave these banners up. Let me take this down. But yes, so again, I appreciate the support. I'm gonna get out of here. It's 11:30. Thank you for your support. The DCA challenge will be here tomorrow, around the same time, 12 p.m. Eastern. And on Thursday at 12 p.m., I do have a special guest. Ms. Misha will be on. She has a hair care product that rejuvenates your hair. And if you're going through anything where you're getting older and you're getting light spots, she says that her product, and a lot of people are saying that her product is bringing their hair back. So Miss Misha will be on the Pattern Disruption Podcast live at 12 p.m. on Thursday. Y'all tap in. If your edges is challenged like mine, if you got challenged edges, you got that lace front you got to wear, Ms. Misha said that she can bring it back. So we're going to have Ms. Misha on Thursday, 12 p.m. So that means that I'll be in here live at 11:30 on Thursday. But I appreciate the love. I'm going to get out of here. Shout out to everybody. Peace, love. Appreciate y'all. Go out. Let's be great. Let's be great. I'll holler at y'all. Let's be great. Let's stay on our purpose. And let's keep disrupting these patterns that's been set. Don't get tricked out your legacy. I'll talk to y'all later. Keep disrupting. Peace.